Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever you are in the world right now, we are so glad you're here with us today.
Genuinely glad. Like, you could be doing anything else right now. Sleeping, scrolling, staring at the ceiling, but you chose this. So thank you, really.
That means a lot to us. Okay, so today's topic. I need everyone to just take a breath before we start.
Why are you being so dramatic already?
Because this one is spicy. Asian learners versus Western learners. Different strengths, different weaknesses, and about 1 million opinions floating around on the internet.
Oh yeah, this is one of those topics where everyone suddenly becomes an expert.
Exactly. And we are not here to say one side is better than the other. Let me make that clear from the start.
Hard agree. We're here to actually look at this honestly, with real examples, real research, real conversations.
So let's get into it. I'll start with something that actually happened to a friend of mine. She moved from Vietnam to Canada for university. Smart girl, top of her class back home. And her first week there, the professor asked everyone to share their opinion on a case study.
Okay, I already know where this is going.
She froze, completely. Not because she didn't know the answer, she absolutely did, but because she had never been asked to just speak up like that, out loud, in front of everyone, without being called on first.
And that's such a real thing. That's not a small detail. That's actually a huge cultural difference in how learning works.
Right? And on the flip side, I've heard from Western students who go study in places like Japan or South Korea, and they're completely overwhelmed by the amount of homework, the memorization, the pressure to get every single answer exactly right.
It's like both groups are brilliant, just trained in totally different ways.
Exactly. So let's actually break this down properly. When we talk about Asian learners, and I know that's a broad term, we're talking about education systems in countries like China, Japan, South Korea, Vietnam, Singapore.
Very different countries, by the way. Like, Vietnam and Japan are not the same thing.
100%. But there are some patterns that researchers have actually noticed across these systems. And the biggest one is structure, discipline, repetition.
The classic drill it until it's in your bones method.
Yes. And honestly, it works. Like PISA scores. That's the international student assessment that tests 15-year-olds around the world, consistently show students from Singapore, China, South Korea, Japan at the very top in math and science.
Consistently, year after year.
So that's not an accident. That's a system that produces very strong foundational skills. These students can calculate fast. They can memorize formulas. They understand structure deeply.
But here's where I want to push back a little. And I mean this respectfully.
Oh, good. I was waiting for the pushback.
So, strong foundation, yes. Amazing test scores, yes. But there's a really interesting study from a researcher named Yang Zhao. He actually grew up in China and then moved to the US. And he found something kind of uncomfortable.
What did he find?
He found that in countries where test scores are highest, there's often a negative correlation with things like creativity, entrepreneurship, and self-directed learning. The higher the scores, the lower the confidence in original thinking.
Wait, say that again? Because that's a big claim.
I know, and he wasn't saying Asian students aren't creative. He was saying the system doesn't always reward creativity. Like, if you grow up in a system where the right answer is always on the teacher's paper, you might feel nervous about coming up with your own answer.
That's actually really honest. And I think a lot of Asian students listening right now might feel that in their gut.
Right? Like, you know the material, you understand it completely. But someone asks you to think outside the box. And suddenly, there's this voice in your head saying, but what if I'm wrong?
I've heard so many students say that. What if I'm wrong? And that fear, that's not stupidity, that's conditioning.
Exactly. And now let's flip it to Western learners. And again, we mean broadly. US, UK, Australia, parts of Europe.
Also very different. Like, Finland's education system is completely different from the American one.
Completely, but some common patterns. Western systems, especially American ones, tend to push students toward discussion, debate, personal expression from a very young age.
Like, literally in elementary school, kids are asked, "What do you think about this story?"
Yes, and that builds something really powerful. it builds confidence in your own voice. It builds the ability to take a position and defend it.
Which is why, honestly, if you look at lists of the most innovative companies, the most patents filed, the most Nobel Prize winners relative to population,
Western countries, especially the US, are still really dominant.
still dominant. And that's not genetics, that's culture. That's a system that says, your idea matters. Even if it's weird, even if it's wrong, let's hear it.
But, and here comes my pushback moment,
Yes, go for it.
the weakness of that system is also very real. There's something called the confidence without competence problem, where students feel great about themselves, they participate a lot, they're very vocal, but their actual foundational skills are weaker.
Oh, this one hurts to say, but it's true.
Like, there are American high school students who struggle with basic fractions or can't locate major countries on a map. But they will absolutely give you a 10-minute presentation on their feelings about a poem.
Ha! Okay, that's a little mean, but also
Kind of accurate.
kind of accurate, yeah. And I think the honest version of this conversation is both systems have gaps. Both systems produce brilliant people and people who are missing something important.
Right. And the most interesting thing, the most exciting thing happening in education right now is when people start combining both.
Oh yes, tell me more.
So there's a school in Singapore, and Singapore is fascinating because they've been very intentional about evolving their system. They started incorporating more project-based learning, more open-ended questions, more there is no single right answer type assignments.
And the results?
Students who are still incredibly strong in fundamentals because they kept that, but who also show higher levels of creative problem solving.
That's the dream right there.
Meanwhile, in the US, there's been a big push, especially after COVID, to bring back more structure, more foundational literacy and numeracy skills, because they realized the gap had gotten too wide.
It's like both sides are slowly walking toward the middle.
Exactly, and I think that's actually hopeful. Like, this isn't a competition. It was never supposed to be a competition.
Can we talk about the family and social pressure side of this, though? Because I feel like we can't have this conversation without talking about that.
Oh, absolutely. This is the part that gets emotional.
So in a lot of Asian households, and again, I'm generalizing, but this is a real pattern. Education is treated almost like a survival strategy. Like, your grade isn't just your grade. It's the family's reputation. It's your future. It's everything.
I've talked to so many students who say they didn't study for themselves. They studied for their parents, for their grandparents, for everyone except themselves.
And that produces incredible results short term. But long term, when those students finally get freedom, sometimes they just don't know what they want because they never had to figure that out.
That's a really painful thing to grow up with. And it doesn't mean the parents were wrong to push. They were doing what they believed was right. But the cost is real.
And on the Western side, the opposite problem can happen, where students have so much freedom, so much follow your passion, that they reach their 20s and they're completely lost because no one ever pushed them to develop discipline.
Follow your passion is beautiful advice, but passion without skill is just a hobby.
Ooh, write that down, everyone.
Ha! But seriously, the students who seem to thrive the most, in my experience and from everything I've read, they're the ones who got both discipline and freedom, structure and creativity.
Like, they can sit down and do the hard, boring work when they need to. But they also know how to ask why, and what if, and what's another way to look at this?
And that combination, that's actually rare. And that's what the world is starting to demand.
Because the jobs that exist now, and especially the jobs that will exist in 10 years, they don't just need people who can follow instructions perfectly.
They need people who can follow instructions and also notice when the instructions are wrong and say something about it.
Yes, that's such a good way to put it. Like, AI can follow instructions, robots can memorize. What humans need to bring is judgment, adaptability, the ability to work in uncertainty.
And interestingly, both Asian and Western education systems are being challenged by this. Neither one was designed for this moment.
Which means, and I think this is actually kind of exciting, we're all in the same boat right now. We all need to evolve.
Students from Tokyo and students from Toronto are facing the same question. What does it mean to learn well in 2025?
And the answer is probably somewhere in the middle of everything we've been talking about today.
Okay, before we wrap up, I want to ask you something personal.
Oh no.
Ha! Okay, if you could go back and change one thing about how you were educated, what would it be?
Wow. Okay. Honestly, I wish someone had told me earlier that being wrong out loud is not embarrassing. It's actually how you learn the fastest. I was so afraid of saying the wrong answer that I stayed quiet for years in class. Years! And I missed so many chances to actually think and grow.
That's real. For me, I wish there had been more structure. More, here is the foundation, build this first. Because I had a lot of freedom to explore, but I sometimes felt like I was building on sand, you know? No solid base.
I love that we have opposite answers.
I know, that's kind of the whole point, isn't it?
It really is. Okay, so to everyone listening today, whether you grew up in an Asian education system or a Western one, or somewhere completely different,
Your system gave you something valuable. And it also left some gaps. And that's okay.
the question is not which system is better. The question is, what do you still need to build in yourself?
Maybe you need to practice speaking up, sharing your unfinished thoughts, getting comfortable with being wrong.
Maybe you need to practice sitting down with something difficult and just doing it, even when it's not fun, even when no one is cheering you on.
Maybe, and this one hits hard, maybe you need to learn for yourself. Not for your parents, not for your grades, not for your resume, but because you are genuinely curious about the world.
That curiosity, that's the thing that no system can give you. You have to find it yourself.
And when you do find it, oh, that's when learning becomes something completely different. It stops being a task. It becomes, I don't know, it becomes like breathing.
That's beautiful. You should write poetry.
Ha! Maybe I'll take a class.
An Asian-style class or a Western-style class?
Both, obviously.
Obviously. All right, everyone, that's our show for today. This was a big one, a meaty one.
We hope it gave you something to think about. Not just about education systems, but about yourself, about how you learn, about what you still want to grow into.
If this episode meant something to you, share it. Send it to a friend. Send it to your study group. Send it to your parents, honestly.
And wherever you are in the world right now, thank you. Genuinely, from both of us. Thank you for spending this time with us.
Keep learning, keep questioning, and we'll see you next time.
Take care of yourselves, everyone. Bye.
Bye.